He's now richer than the king. This is after his personal fortune increased by more than £120 million. He and his wife are now worth around £651 million. This is according to the Sunday Times Rich List. It's mainly due to his wife's shares in an Indian IT company, which was founded by her father. King Charles, just for comparison, is worth around £610 million. So not too far behind, but behind. But does Rishi's wealth actually make it impossible for him to understand the struggles that most of us face? Do you think that his money matters? Perhaps you think it doesn't matter. Lynn, do you think that he's too rich to be Prime Minister?
I don't really understand this question because what would determine, at what point would you say this is too rich if you were to give a figure?
Richer than the king.
No,
there's my
but this is my thing. So his parents migrated. This is the positive element of migration to me, where, you know, a small pharmacy, his parents owned. He's then gone on to work really hard. You know, was a banker. I've got many friends that I grew up in Tottenham, quite a deprived area. Many of my friends from those similar areas, from ethnic minorities, have gone on into banking, which we would have never dreamed of being able to do about 20 to 30 years ago. And if they then excel and do well, are they then going to face a barrage of questions from Britain? You're too wealthy, even though they've worked hard to do it. Now, also, if we look at his wife, should he not have married the love of his life? Because, you know, we'll get loads of questions again. How dare you be that rich? And lastly, do we want essentially a poor person who hasn't worked hard, who isn't educated, to lead this country? So,
OK, so you're saying Rishi Sunak, face of social mobility, Jemma?
I think it's grotesque that he's leading our country at the moment and presiding over the biggest increase in inequality. And I think it's wrong for so many reasons. So firstly, there's a huge conflict of interest. He became 122 million quid richer last year by being Prime Minister. So firstly, I don't think any Prime Minister should be awarding contracts that enriches himself and his family, which he has done multiple times to emphasis. That, for me, smells corrupt and dodgy. I don't like it. Secondly, it really points to a deeper systemic failure in terms of our economy. This is neoliberalism on acid, because I, like you, think people should be able to get rich and get wealthy. But it wasn't that long ago where the middle classes felt quite affluent. Right now, the rich are getting super rich. It's out of control. And that is because not they're working hard. We all work hard. Someone who drives a train works hard. Someone who goes into, you know, like works in Tesco works hard, right? So yes, you get paid more for being a banker. That's fine, okay? And they get bonuses. I have no problem with that. But when the super rich are earning so much passive income because they are not paying tax on earnings, they've just got all this money, all these assets, and they are draining the money away from the middle classes by buying up everything. They are eating us.
Should they be capped then? Should you say, if you want to become the leader of Britain, which is economically GDP 5 or 6, you should not have this amount of wealth?
No.
What would you cap it as?
I think that my third point is that it means he is utterly out of touch. And so if he was making policy that benefited society as a whole, I couldn't give a stuff how much money he's got.
OK, so
but
actually
when I say out of touch, he basically discounted £9 billion worth of corporate fraud, right? But the same man is going after unpaid carers, 250 million quid. People who have got nothing, who sacrifice their lives to look after people, which we can't do. And some of them are like committing suicide. So he's out of touch.
But most
what
of
I'm
the
hearing
MPs
from you,
are.
Jemma, just to clear
Not
this
as much
up,
as
is
him.
actually you're not that fussed about how much a Prime Minister is worth. What you are fussed about is the policies that he is making, and the fact that he's making the policies you don't like it's almost compounded by his wealth. It's just made worse by his wealth, but it's not the wealth itself that you're bothered by.
If you've got Jeremy Hunt, you've got Sunak. They've been our chancellors over the last how many years. They are not going to bring in policy that means that they stop just earning passive income, millions. I.e., when we talk about wealth tax, which in my mind is we desperately need, because people on the average wage, many of them are now classified as being in poverty. The so-called middle classes who used to feel quite affluent, right, who used to feel like, I get a good job, I don't know whether that's 80 grand, 90 grand, like a really good wage. They used to be able to more than afford to go on holidays, to buy goods, to do this, to do that. Even they are feeling squeezed now. It is a joke.
But I think we're conflating.
People like them go, oh no, I don't want wealth tax. I'm aspirational. I'm elite. So I'm going to vote Conservative. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people that own £10 million worth of assets. Why should Rishi Sunak pay a lower tax rate than a doctor? That makes no sense to me. And yet he's not going to change that, is he?
But I think we're conflating the question of, is he too wealthy to run Britain?
Yes,
the other
he
question,
is.
you're answering a question which is his policies damaging to Britain? I can 100% say I disagree with many of his policies. However, I think we enter dangerous territory where this country has done well because of capitalism, even though many people don't like the idea of that. It's done well because of the free markets. So if we now say, oh, to me, the majority of the people that say he's too rich, it reeks of jealousy.
He hasn't got a flipping clue, Lynn.
But I think
a clue. You know, he's presiding over a country that's got crumbling schools. It's got literally starving children. 6 million children.
We can't say that's because of. We cannot say that's because of Rishi Sunak. He was just here in position
I think
the other day.
What he's proved to me, when he came in, I really wanted him to be good. I really, really did. I was desperate and I wanted to give him a chance. And I was on record saying that. Yeah. I think he's failed beyond belief. I think he's one of the worst. And I think he doesn't care. I
agree with
when
you,
he's
but
finished,
that's not the question. The question is he too wealthy to lead Britain?
So in my opinion,
so
yes,
what would
he's proved.
So what would your amount be that a Prime Minister can have where you would cap and say, sorry, mate, you're too rich to run this country?
Well, what I would do is say that anybody who wants to govern for the many, right? It doesn't matter how much money you've got, but then you are.
So then he's not. But then he's not too rich. Then if you don't mind,
you're just shouting over each other now.
Yeah. So if that same Rishi Sunak, if he brought in a wealth tax that meant that he didn't get 30 million quid a year, sort of passive income from doing nothing, maybe reduce that to say, 50 million, could he survive? Then I'd be like, yeah, okay, good guy. You know, I think somebody like what's old Microsoft famous multi-billionaire. Philanthropic. Bill Gates. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You hear him talking about this and the amount that he gives percentage-wise is like extraordinary. I don't resent wealth. I don't resent the fact that Dyson, who's a brilliant inventor, is wealthy. I don't resent the fact that Paul McCartney, who's brought so much joy to the world, is a multi whatever he is. That's fine. But for goodness sake, you are governing not just for your mates, not for your cronies, but you are governing for the pensioner, for the disabled, for the sick, for the long-term sick.
So your issue is the amount of tax and policy, not that he actually has too much.
Yeah, because I don't think he cares, actually. I don't think he gives a stuff. And I believe
I'd like
that
to
when
see him
he's
give
finished...
more away. I haven't seen
his
him.
own personal
maybe
he does and he doesn't tell us. I mean, you don't have to be open about all
he's
your
given a lot to his father-in-law. He's given a lot to his father-in-law.
And he said Winchester,
so
he gave 100k to Winchester, his school that he went to. I'd like to see, or give up his salary if he's that wealthy. I would like to see it. I'm not saying he should, but I would like. I think lots of people would like to see.
There's another question there.
Okay, he does pay his tax.